What do you mean by energy flow in an ecosystem, and why is it important? The transformation of energy between the different components of an ecosystem is known as energy flow. This is very important, as it determines the density and diversity of organisms as well as their development and functional status. The energy flow in an ecosystem is always unidirectional in nature. Define primary production. To prepare food and to store it in the form of chemical energy, green plants, with the help of their green pigments known as chlorophyll, trap solar energy and convert carbon dioxide, CO2, and water, H2O, into complex food materials with the help of other nutrients. This is done through the process of photosynthesis and is referred to as primary production. Primary production is of special importance in ecology, since it is the energy fixed by plants by converting solar energy into chemical energy of foodstuff that support life in other trophic levels. What is gross primary production, GPP? The total amount of solar energy converted into chemical energy by green plants is called gross primary production, GPP. Some part of the gross primary production, GPP, is utilized by plants for their various metabolic activities, mainly respiration, MA, and the remainder is called the net primary production, NPP. Thus, GPP is equal to NPP plus MA when GPP is equal to MA, there is no change in energy content, NPP is equal to 0. GPP MA, NPP becomes negative, i.e., biomass undergoes degradation. GPP MA, NPP becomes positive, i.e., accumulation of biomass. What happens when herbivores consume autotrophic plants as their food? When herbivores consume autotrophic plants as food, part of the food is assimilated and the rest is ingested. Some parts of the assimilated food, the potential energy stored as chemical energy of food, get oxidized through respiration. The carbon bonds are broken and carbon combines with oxygen to form carbon dioxide, releasing kinetic energy. Some parts of the energy is used by the organism to do work and the rest dissipates as heat. C6H12O6 plus O2 CO2 plus H2O plus kinetic energy. What is secondary production? Also explain gross secondary production and net secondary production. The production of organic matter by heterotrophic organisms is known as secondary production. The total quantity of plant material ingested and stored, assimilated, in the body of heterotrophic organisms, herbivore, is known as gross secondary production, and the remaining part of the assimilated food, energy, after metabolic processes, mainly respiration, is known as net secondary production. What is ecological succession? Ecological succession is a gradual process by which ecosystems change over time. In the process of succession, the species present in an area will gradually change. Succession occurs because the environmental conditions prevalent in a particular place change over time. Ecological succession is the observed process of modification in the species structure of an ecological community over time. Ecological successions can be short-term, usually due to changes in season. Ecological succession may also take place when conditions of an environment are altered suddenly and drastically. Floods, forest fires, windstorms, and human activities like agriculture all greatly modify the conditions of an environment. Define food chain. The various definitions of food chain are as follows. 1. A food chain shows the movement of food energy through an ecosystem. Food from one trophic level reaches the other trophic level, and a chain is established which is known as food chain. The transfer of food energy from the producers, through a series of organisms, herbivores, carnivores, and decomposers, with repeated eating and being eaten, is known as food chain. The arrangement in a food chain can be depicted as plant herbivore carnivore top carnivore. Carnivore 1, Carnivore 2. Differentiate between grazing food chains and detritus food chains. Uns grazing food chains are sequential. They begin with the green plants as major sources of energy for primary consumers, i.e., herbivores. The herbivores are then eaten by carnivores. Detritus food chains start from the dead and decaying organic matter of animal and plant bodies known as detritus. This acts as the source of energy for the primary consumers, in this case known as detritus consumers. Give examples of food chains in various ecosystems. Uns 1. Grassland ecosystem. Grass grasshopper bird man tiger. Grass goat man lion. Forest ecosystem. Plant deer lion plant goat tiger. Pond ecosystem. Phytoplankton zooplankton small fish big fish crocodile. 45. Explain the various types of food chain. Uns food chains are of 4 types. 1. Predator food chain. Such type of food chain starts from producer and ends with higher consumer level. In every trophic level, the size of the organism increases while its number decreases. E.g., grass grasshopper toad snake. Grass grasshopper small fish big fish crocodile. Parasitic food chain. This type of food chain starts from big hosts and ends with the parasitic organisms. E.g., cow worm protozoa. Saprophytic food chain. This type of food chain starts from dead organisms and ends with decomposers such as bacteria. E.g., dead organism, plant animal, fungi bacteria. Detritus food chain. Detritus food chain begins with dead organic matter into microorganisms and subsequently to organisms feeding on detritus, detrivores, and their predators. Detritus food chains are prominent in mangrove ecosystems. E.g., leaves of trees, insects, saprotrophs, bacteria, fungi, small animals, nematodes, crabs, small fish, large fish.